Today we will investigate the 12 laws of life, drawing from the significant insight of aloofness. These regulations are not only for the youthful, however, are significant to anybody looking to explore life's intricacies with elegance, ideals, and shrewdness. The law of self-information, the excursion of turning into a man, in the unemotional sense, begins with self-information. To really realize oneself is to know about one's assets, shortcomings, wants, and fears. This regulation stresses that thoughtfulness is definitely not a simple inactive activity, however a crucial stage as we continued looking for self-improvement. As the unemotional savant Epictetus carefully expressed, know first what your identity is, and afterward embellish yourself as needs be. Mindfulness is the foundation whereupon the wide range of various regulations rest, empowering us to recognize regions for development and foster versatility, even with misfortune. The law of objectivity. Emotionlessness puts serious areas of strength for an on the level-headed brain. To turn into a man, one should embrace reason and rationale as core values in their day-to-day existence. This doesn't involve smothering feelings or becoming savage, yet rather perceiving the force of objective idea in dealing with our feelings and using wise judgment. This regulation advises us that genuine strength lies in understanding that our decisions and responses are inside our control, empowering us to liberate ourselves from pointless affliction and become stronger, even with misfortune. The law of acknowledgement. Life is loaded with conditions outside of our reach. Apathy urges us to embrace these conditions with acknowledgement, perceiving that we can't change the unchangeable. This regulation advises us that genuine development lies in our capacity to acknowledge the world for what it's worth and make its best. To turn into a man, one should figure out how to separate between what can be changed and what can't. This insight permits us to relinquish pointless obstruction and on second thought channel our energy into the main thing, our own personality and excellence. The law of ethicalness. In the unemotional view, ideals is the most elevated great, and its interest is the noblest of all undertakings. To turn into a man, one should make the development of prudence a focal concentration throughout everyday life. Unemotional savants supported for the advancement of intelligence, boldness, equity, and self-control. This regulation instructs us that genuine masculinity isn't estimated by abundance, power, or outer accomplishments, yet by the nature of our personality. Chasing excellence, we track down the way to an existence of satisfaction and importance. The law of flexibility. Strength is a fundamental quality for any man, as per apathy. Life is brimming with difficulties, misfortunes, and difficulties, and fostering the capacity to return quickly from affliction is vital. The Stoics perceive the temporariness of all things and accentuate the requirement for inward strength and versatility. This regulation advises us that snags are not barricades but rather open doors for development. To turn into a man in the unemotional sense is to embrace misfortune as a way to foster internal grit and versatility. The law of control. One of the crucial standards of aloofness is the idea of control. Stoics accept that we ought to zero in our energy and consideration on things we have some control over, and let go of those we can't. This regulation helps us that attempting to control outside occasions, the assessments of others or conditions outside our ability to comprehend, is a worthless undertaking. To turn into a man, one should excel at knowing between the controllable and the wild, in this way discovering a sense of harmony despite life's vulnerabilities. The law of appreciation. Appreciation is a strong power for individual change, and emotionlessness perceives its significance. To turn into a man, one should develop a feeling of appreciation for the basic, regular gifts throughout everyday life. This regulation advises us that genuine abundance isn't estimated by assets yet by our capacity to see the value in the current second. Genuine bliss is tracked down in partaking in the present without restless reliance upon what's to come. This regulation urges us to find satisfaction in the present time and place, perceiving that the quest for material abundance can never supplant the extravagance of a thankful heart. The law of fleetingness, apathy, instructs us that all that in life is dependent on future developments. The law of temporariness advises us that all things, including our own lives, are impermanent. To turn into a man, one should foster a comprehension of the brief idea of presence and the significance of living right now. This regulation urges us to live carefully, liberated from connection to the past or unnecessary stress over what's to come. Embracing the fleetingness of life assists us with taking full advantage of each and every valuable second. The law of benevolence, emotionlessness, advances that we are all essential for a more prominent local area, and our activities ought to mirror this interconnectedness. The law of consideration urges us to treat others with sympathy, empathy, and regard. To turn into a man, one should rehearse graciousness in words as well as in deeds. This regulation instructs us that our personality is characterized by our activities, and our treatment of others mirrors our inward upright compass. Genuine masculinity, as indicated by aloofness, is tied in with endeavoring to be one's best self, while additionally contributing decidedly to the prosperity of others. The law of perseverance. Perseverance is a sign of indifferent way of thinking. Life is loaded up with difficulties, and the unemotional comprehends that they will confront hardships. To turn into a man, one should embrace the law of perseverance, which trains us to endure even with misfortune. This regulation urges us to transcend scorn, outrage, and the longing for vengeance. All things considered, we channel our energy into persevering through difficulties with effortlessness, nobility, and an unfaltering obligation to our standards. The law of straightforwardness. In a world portrayed by overabundance and intricacy, emotionlessness support the law of effortlessness. To turn into a man, one should perceive the worth of a straightforward, cleaned-up life. This regulation trains us to look for satisfaction without even a trace of superfluous needs and wants. A man who doesn't have the foggiest idea what the following day will bring doesn't need to think about a great deal of different things. This regulation urges us to clean up our lives, zeroing in on the fundamentals and tracking down delight in straightforwardness. Thusly, we free ourselves from the weight of realism and discover a more prominent feeling of inward harmony. The law of shrewdness. The last regulation in the unemotional way to turning into a man is the law of intelligence. Shrewdness in the unemotional practice is the climax of the relative multitude of different regulations. It is the capacity to apply soundness, flexibility, control, appreciation, and the wide range of various standards to explore existence with keenness and beauty. It's not what befalls you, yet the way in which you respond to it, that is important. This regulation advises us that intelligence is definitely not a theoretical idea, yet a pragmatic device for carrying on with a significant and satisfying life. To turn into a man, one must consistently look for and apply shrewdness, coordinating the lessons of emotionlessness into their everyday presence. These 12 laws of life, as directed by apathy, are immortal and significant core values. They offer a guide for self-improvement, underscoring self-information, level-headedness, acknowledgement, righteousness, strength, control, appreciation, fleetingness, benevolence, perseverance, straightforwardness, and shrewdness. These regulations advise us that genuine development isn't characterized by age, however, by one's obligation to carrying on with an existence of significance, ideals, and shrewdness. In this undertaking, emotionlessness isn't simply a way of thinking, however, a lifestyle, an incredible asset to direct you toward the satisfaction of